So we're live. So anything I'll say to people.
So we're live now?
We're live.
All right. So we're ready? Oh, okay. All right. So how do you say it? Shrek. Okay, that's great. My daughter's DJ. And she's really good.
Great. The sixth grader in the rock grade. She's my new friend. Right?
Yeah. Let's go.
Welcome back to All Politics Are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Man, that was DJ Shrek, little DJ Shrek on the DJing. Man, we are back here on Politics Are Local. I had to shout her out first.
Yeah, she's doing her thing back there.
Right, we knew her when she was like a little bitty thing.
You heard what the mayor said, right?
No, what did the mayor say?
The mayor said every time they see Shiny, she see how big she is. Look
yeah, she's doing
growing
her
up.
thing.
She's been a little girl when she was coming here, bro.
I know. We all
Look at
old
her,
now.
man.
Now we embarrassing the little child, but so thank you. We are back here now.
No. You know what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen?
She's gonna need security from all of us, DJ Rhino, in a minute, bro. Not just you. She's gonna need all of us.
You're talking about the bad boys walking to the door
and you
like,
understand.
I'm taking your little child to the prom.
You understand?
Yeah, right.
And Superintendent, you know exactly what we talk about. You know.
So we are here. We are honored to have the superintendent of the Newark Public Schools, the person who is the first person who was chosen by an elected board in over 19 years. No, 20. I always say 19, but it's really 20-something years, right? 23 years. So we are here now, and we're honored to have him here. He's my friend, someone I've known for a very long time, someone I'm always very proud of, that became superintendent of Newark Public Schools, a former Newark Public School person himself, graduate of Hawkins Avenue, graduate of Hawkins Avenue and Science High School. So welcome, Superintendent Leon.
Yeah, welcome, my brother.
All right, appreciate it. But my folks down in High Court will get mad. Hawkins Street.
Hawkins Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So what's going on in the school system? Like your first year
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
is done. The second year, you made lots of changes in the beginning. It was like, wow, boom, wow, you hit the ground running. Wow, who's there? Wow,
is it the
what
first
happened?
year or is it the first half of the year?
No, it's the second year.
It's the second year?
It's the second
being
year.
the superintendent?
1 year, 6 months.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been here a year and a half. But the beginning of the second year just, woo. There were newspaper articles written about it, all the changes that were hitting the ground running.
Had that stadium meeting with all the teachers, everybody.
Yeah, we started at the convocation over at the Devils Arena in Harrison.
Yeah.
And over 6,000 of the employees were obviously present to establish kind of a state of where we are.
Right.
It's extremely important for everyone to know that the school system is actually doing really, really well, and that there's a lot of work that we really, really have to do to get it to the point where it could distinguish itself as it was at one point in time, distinguishing itself in the country. And so meeting with the staff at the start of the year, extremely important so that they are understanding so where we are, what did the test results look like, how are we doing, and what are we doing to make things better. And then that was followed up by 5 convocations of students. I met with the seniors, then with the juniors.
So you personally met with all of the students in the district?
Yeah, we had a session with each of the classes, seniors, juniors, because I only have them for a couple of months during the course of this year. And obviously I just met them last year in this role as superintendent. So a year and a couple of months, right? It'll and 2 years of me knowing them in June when they all in fact graduate. But it's extremely important for my students to know who the superintendent is. And so I met with sophomores and freshmen and then all of the 8th graders. Each meeting about 2,500 students at each time, to just explain to them, what are our expectations. They have to understand that we demand a lot in the city of Newark, and the children of the city of Newark are, in fact, the ones who will help guide us into an incredible future for all of us. So that when it's time for us to retire, we know that we're going to be in good hands.
Because from your experience that we are in the schools at a certain time, but then we will eventually run those schools.
That's exactly right. And so, you know, we're at that point right now. We were in the middle of a transition plan when I started. So, and I began in July of 2018. And in February of 2018, that's when we began to actually really be in full control over the district. And in the midst of my appointment, I'm living what is a transition plan, and it ends next month.
Wait, what do you mean by the transition plan?
So a lot of people understand that the board is, in fact, the locally controlled board of education elected by the people. That began in February. However, the state has still been a part of our process. A lot of people kind of heard we have local control, so the state isn't here. No, the state always is monitoring all of the schools, but in this period from February to January 2020, the state still played a very important role, just as it did when the district was taken over by the state. So in January, we've had already 3 reports that have been completed. I'm extremely excited to say that, you know, all of those reports have indicated that the school system is moving in the direction that anyone in New Jersey and across the country would expect of a school system. You know, we obviously still have lots of work to do, but we're definitely making important strides towards getting it done. So while the transition plan existed, we created our own strategic plan in June of 2019, and it ends this June. It's called NPS Clarity 2020. And it's designed to kind of set the stage. Is everyone clear what has happened over the last 23 years? A lot of people aren't aware, you know, who's in charge, whatnot. So just kind of not pause, but kind of slow things down a little bit. Let's see where all of the reforms have taken us. How do people feel about that? And then what we're going to do about it. And then this June 2020, we will launch the next decade. It is a 10-year strategic plan that will change the whole entire ecosystem of how we've educated children in the city of Newark.
Wait, so you are getting ready to launch a 10-year plan?
Yeah.
For Newark
a lot
Public
of people.
Schools.
Most strategic plans are 3 years. There are some incredible school districts across the country that are actually implementing 6-year strategic plans. And, you know, I've been reading them, learning as to why they designed them that way. So the 1-year strategic plan is kind of weird because most people don't do a 1-year plan.
Right.
But the purpose of the 1-year plan was to assess 23 years. And so part of what we are doing is establishing a foundation and then building an incredible plan that will redefine not only school system here in our great city, but by creating a different trajectory for our students, people will in fact research the work that we're doing so that urban school systems across this country can show that we could get it done.
Wow. So, by the way, this is exciting music in the background for the conversation. It's kind of like, yeah, we're going to get the work done.
It is.
Kind of music in the
what
background.
That's no disrespect to your other DJs, but that's what happens when a student is my DJ.
Yeah. Ain't that something? Wow. Wow.
And I was like, whoa, this music, he's talking about his 10-year plan. And this is what we're going to do. Yeah. And the music is just pumping in the background. Like, yeah.
It sounds kind of rocky-ish, right? As he's saying that, man. It's like, wow. Yeah.
So what are the things that we've learned that we've done over 23 years? Like some of those things that are going to be encapsulated that, you know, like the important lessons that were there.
Well, I think that one of the things that we're really good at and looking forward to is changing things. Because that's the only thing that has been constant.
Right.
You have a new superintendent, change things.
Right.
Another superintendent, change things. So what I did was, knowing that that's what people expect, kind of slow things down. Let's assess things. So part of what I'm doing is creating a system that allows us to research itself, analyze what we're doing, and be very, very responsive to what the actual needs are. I think that that's an inherent learning that has occurred because of all of the different philosophies that have led administrations, you know, in our school system. That's not different in any other school system, but ultimately having the opportunity to really focus everyone and ground everyone is where we're starting. So we're building a foundation. In terms of what are key strategies. Ultimately, my objective is to make everything focus on students. Students are my focus. I'm making sure that all of the resources are as close to them as possible, which means the teachers who are closest to the students need to have all of the resources that they actually need to really educate our students well. So focusing on professional development, creating pipelines, making sure that we have representation, that our teachers that we hire look like the children that are in our schools, and then demands of them greatness. Because you can't be of color and not understand that you are already great.
Right.
So ultimately, teaching our students daily, every day. So, when I speak to my students, when the mayor who was just on, he speaks to our students, they constantly see, a kid from Newark, born in the city, loving them and making sure that they know we worry about them.
Right.
And ultimately, I think that's what will inevitably ground us. Establishing very high expectation. One of the things I was extremely excited about this opportunity is we just announced it on Tuesday. The college boards create the advanced placement courses.
Right.
So advanced placement courses are college level courses that our students take while they're in high school, and then they take a test in the spring. And if they do well, they can actually get college credit before they even go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if our students are not sitting in these classes, we don't know if they can pass or not.
Right.
So what we did during the course of last year is increase the number of students in the advanced placement classes.
Okay.
That strategy has resulted in, guess what? Students actually passing our really hard tests.
Wow.
Awesome. So over the course of the last 3 years, that has been the increase of what we've been doing. And so the College Board announced that Newark is one of 250 school districts in the country that increased advanced placement courses and also had students performing far better than in the previous years.
And wait a second, is this the first year that that's happened?
No. So the purpose of the study is they focus on 3 years.
Okay.
So in the 3-year time period, the idea is to increase the number of classes that the students actually take. So last year was my first year.
Okay.
And in the 3-year span of time that they were actually reviewing this, we actually increased the number of opportunities for students to take that course. And part of what my administration is doing is letting everyone know that we have to establish really high expectations for our students and then teach them well so they can meet and exceed those expectations. Right. And so just last year alone, we know that we have evidence that when our students are asked to do great things, they actually accomplish them.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always liked about the AP program, I taught AP for a number of years at Science, is that it actually started to give us better standards than we had in terms of like, oh, this is how to write like college level essays. This is why these college level essays are good. This is what you need to do. And it started to actually just create an outside norm that was a much higher standard than teachers had been accustomed to. That's why we need professional development training for AP.
Absolutely. And one of the things I used to do in 2008 and 2009 was actually hire the College Board to train our advanced placement teachers during the summer.
Actually, I was part of those programs.
Right. And instead of the teachers having to pay for tuition and then room and board and go to other states or some other area in New Jersey to be trained, this summer, in summer of 2020, we're actually going to afford all of our teachers who are taking advanced placement courses and those who are working hard at preparing students for AP, the opportunity to take those classes right here in Newark.
Wow!
Free.
Wow! So basically, you are bringing that program back because you did that, and I benefited from the program that you brought in a couple of years back.
Some of the things that we're doing to kind of move things forward is actually look at in the past and say, what did we do in the past?
That worked.
Let's go slow. What are the things that we did in the past? And let's leave them there. Because this isn't about going backwards. It's always about moving forward, right? The mayor has clearly outlined that's what we're doing in this city. Right. So the school system isn't left behind in that conversation. However, there are some practices and things that we did in the past that everyone in their right mind knows is going to help move our school system. So those definitely back to the forefront to actually move things along. That's going to happen in the summer of 2020, and I'm excited about that.
Now let me ask you a question, Superintendent. Now, because we asked the mayor this some time ago. And so, since you fairly new to, being in charge, do you really get how much the community is watching you in terms of, the faith that they have in you and really watching these kids develop? Because as you raise that bar, and we believe that now,
Right.
we believe that these kids can achieve. We believe that, but do you really get that? Because I've said this to the mayor. You remember, John?
Right.
We asked the mayor when he got elected. Do you really understand that you represent? You are our mayor. For the first time, we got a mayor. Do you recognize that you are our superintendent, and we really got faith in you? Do you really get that?
Well, one of the realities is that when I leave my building in the morning to come to work, and I open my door, that my neighbor was a senior at Eastside High School, that the students who live across the street from me go to Hawkins Street School, that I have this little boy and little girl who live in higher court projects, that every morning either their parent or they time their departure from their building to get in front of my building to say good morning,
Right.
Roger Leon.
Right.
And so this is my city. And I say it personally because that helps ground me.
Right.
Let me tell you, humbled
Right.
by the opportunity. And I'm not oblivious to the fact that it's about the timing,
There you go.
that it is this time,
Right.
right now, today, and that my responsibility is to make sure that the educational system for every single child in this city
Right.
is of the greatest of affording them the realization of all of their dreams. So I have to say to you honestly that I think about it every day.
Good, man.
Nice.
Good, because I say to John, why we wanted to have you on at the end of this year, because I wanted you to know that, man. I wanted you to be clear that we said it when you, because think about it, when you came on last time, it was you and the mayor, just like it is now.
Exactly.
You came on, the mayor came on, and you came on behind him. And I said this before you came in. I told the mayor, I said, Roger Leon is coming on right behind you. You said, nice, right? Again, and I think that is because of where we place both of y'all. We recognize that we have a mayor for the first time, in our life, me and John, being from Newark, going to Newark schools, being educated in this system. And now for the first time, we have a superintendent who gives a damn about us, right? Who really cares about these kids having not only just a good education, but having a future.
Now,
right?
I would push back on one thing, because there's one superintendent we had before this that I always compare Roger Leon to, and we always talk about this, about like Marion Bolden.
Bolden, okay.
I love Marion Bolden, and actually one of the reasons why I was so excited that Roger Leon was going to be superintendent is because he came up under Marion Bolden, and he also reminded me of Marion Bolden.
Okay.
Right, like from Newark, about Newark, but also having a love for kids,
right.
And a love for excellence all at the same time, and trying to push things forward, like an idealist trying to push things forward.
Right.
Even the convocation at the beginning of the year, like my memory as an early teacher is Marion Bolden, like giving these convocations that were inspiring, right? Like that I got something from, that I had an understanding that the superintendent was going to support the stuff that I did if I worked hard on behalf of kids.
Right.
I think that part of the reality of this time is that the person. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
The mayor.
You absolutely
we
right.
respect him as the mayor.
That's right.
We know who Raz Baraka is.
That's right.
We know his genius.
That's right.
We know what moves him,
That's
what
right.
motivates him, and we've learned what pains him.
That's right.
So to be able to say, I can touch the shoulder of the superintendent,
right,
is one thing, and to know that I respond is yet another.
Right.
So you're able to do that.
Right.
And so it's personal.
Yeah.
Because we.
That's exactly right.
In many respects, the way that I believe the mayor and I see it is an opportunity to showcase our city.
Right.
As opposed to trying to improve the city because it has all of its issues and problems.
Right.
I live here. I know we have problems.
Right.
I've been in the school system as a student, teacher, principal, assistant superintendent. I understand where I want the school system right now is nowhere near where it's going to be.
Right.
And
Right.
so sometimes, managing expectations is one of the difficult challenges that I know I have, where I know people have the right ideas. It's just we have to map it out.
Right. Right. So, I saw this year where, and I was telling John about this, I saw this year where one of the teachers at Avon Avenue High School had really put forth an effort to teach a young kid who wanted to learn how to read. And she really put an effort into getting that done. Is that something that all the teachers should be putting forward, or is that something that you have to have naturally to want to be able to do that, right? Because not everybody is going to, have that kind of patience to see a kid who want to read, but then go the extra mile. Because how some teachers say, I even come out of my own pocket and I do this. I see what my students need. But then remember, time is a big thing, right? Because trying to teach somebody how to read, you will almost, in a sense, got to go back and you got to teach them the ABCs again. You got to teach them the sounds again. And if you're talking about a kid that may be 12 or 11 or 13 years old, they've already learned certain skills.
No, it's a good point, and it's funny because you've just mentioned a couple of strategies that will help course correct some realities for some students. So if you have a teaching certificate, I'm always hiring people, and I want to take this opportunity to say I do have vacancies. So teachnewark.org is definitely one way of beginning that process.
I sit next to a great teacher.
Jonathan is just doing an absolutely incredible job for the students at Science Park High School, and I'm proud of him, and I'm glad and honored to call him my friend. So the whole idea, I have really good teachers like Jonathan across the school system. Right. I can't teach you hard.
There you go.
So
there you go.
If you don't have a heart,
right,
for whatever the reasons are,
right,
there's not much I could do for you. If you have heart and you need to learn skills, then in certain content areas, I'm really good. I know how to teach. In other areas where I know that there is a need, that I need experts, I have surrounded myself with a cabinet of staff that are, I would argue, second to none. And so I have people who know, people who have written books, people who have taught college classes, working in the district today to help move the organization. So our strategy is to it's not take schools where they are today and make them better. That's what every school system is supposed to do. My task is to take all of the schools that I have today, make them worthy of children attending them, and let everyone know that every single school, regardless of where you attend school, is a great school for your child and anybody else's child who wants to learn.
I think that's the hope that we all have in public schools in the city of Newark, right? And I think that kind of leadership, right? If we can somehow impart that kind of leadership in every single teacher, that heart, right? Because I think about myself as a student having come up at the old Robert Treat High School, became Marcus Garvey, that is now Science High School. I think about the teachers I had back then, right? I mean, the teachers cared so much about you back then, Roger, that if you came to school with dirty fingernails, the teacher would say, "Let me show you how to wash your hands and clean your fingernails."
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, just think about that. I mean, something that low, or even what the mayor said when he was over at Central. He said that when they created community schools before he became the mayor, here's what he said, Roger. He said, we wanted to take a look at why weren't they learning? And he said it wasn't, just that they didn't want to learn. He said what we realized was some of our kids couldn't even see the board. They needed glasses.
Absolutely. There's some basic
things.
When I became principal at Dr. Horton's school,
right.
the student achievement was, not doing well. And, I was trying to figure it out. Oh my goodness, I need better teachers. I need different types of teachers. I need teachers who look like the students. I need diversity. I need teachers who don't look like the students. So that they are aware that there was a world that they exist, obviously in. So ultimately, the role that the teachers actually play in the development of our students is critical. Your fingernail comment reminded me about fingernail checks.
Oh wow!
We got to make sure that the totality of our students
There were actually fingernail checks.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Was that just middle school?
I'll do it off the record and put it I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
But ultimately, our students come to us however they are sent to us.
Right.
And let me tell you, the parents are expecting that we take their child however and whatever way they arrive to us and make them better. Our parents want the schools to do right by their children, because the parents understand that part of their role is to make sure that the kids are better than them. And one of the ways of doing that is by being educated at the school and being educated real well.
Well, one of the things I think that, or at least I feel, and I think that you've done in the district in the last year and a half, is you've created a sense of excitement, right? Like it's like exciting to be in a Newark school, right? You have at Westside, you got a superstar principal who Oprah visits, right? And he hangs out with them, right? You have Michael B. Jordan just, coming back to our tide just to chill, right? It seems like you have, it just seems like there's exciting. You have the New York Times author, the writer from the 1619 Project.
Nicole Hannah Jones.
Come back to Weequahic and come back to Central just to talk to students, right? Like you had like having these open intellectual conversations that you bring kids around for and creating a sense of excitement.
Imagine that we are having conversations with our youth about the world.
Yeah.
And letting them know that the one way that our world becomes better is with the children of Newark.
And these kids from Newark, we are being connected to like famous authors who are talking about real stuff and having real like intense conversations.
John, as you're thinking of that, and then the scary reality of it for, I guess, a whole lot of people is, and then the people who are these intellectual experts look like the students. So that there's this sense that we are actually, one of the biggest learnings that occurred while she was talking about the 1619 Project was something that I know, and I know I've led in this way, but I was very, very reflective of it. That the reason why this world is good is because of people of color.
You know what's funny?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah, we are good right now, and that we can only become better when everyone understands that the reason why we are where we are right now is because of us.
Right. Right. And those things are powerful. And I was gonna say, like, I think like 1/3 of all of our kids in Newark right now, or at least 1/3 of the money is going to charter schools, going to schools outside the district, and they do what they do. Is part of what you're doing to create excitement to bring people home? Is this something that is or is that a thought? Is there any correlation between like the excitement, what you're doing, and just people feeling comfortable saying, hey, my kid needs to get the best education in the country. I'm gonna bring him back home to Newark.
Well, I appreciate the question, because ultimately what I see as home is a school that is worrying about realizing the dreams of children and helping them realize how great they actually are and helping them make those dreams come true. That school doesn't have a name. It exists because it has purpose. You could call it a charter. You could call it a district school. You could call it one of the schools from the archdiocese. You could call it a private school. It doesn't have a definition, because ultimately what has occurred over time is this conversation where we're talking about this school, this money there, that money there. and we're not really focusing on the fact that we're talking about our children and our city. So ultimately, part of what my strategy is and the work in the 10-year plan is to say it's a school system. Anyone who walks in Newark that is a child, I'm worrying about them. And whatever school they wind up going to, I'm worrying about that too. And so all of the schools have to do a far better job. My focus is on the schools that I govern over, but my passion is to worry about what every school is doing for all of our kids, and then tapping them for some greatness. You know, a lot of people have, for whatever reasons, taken the opportunity to say the district can learn from other schools in Newark. Right. Absolutely true. But guess what? Other schools in Newark can also learn about what the Newark school system is doing. You know,
and they have been, because there are a lot of schools who have been taking the things that we do well and have been trying to implement them as well.
Sure.
But you know what that brings to the forefront when you talk about people of color and black folks and Latinos. I think one of the things, John, remember what the mayor just talked about, and this is we're gonna focus him on this next year. When he said cultural nationalism, that's big, man, because if culture is a weapon, right, and we're the only group of people that have never used our culture to our advantage, and that is an advantage for us. So if Roger says you can be great, and you can be great because you're black, you can be great because you're Latino, not that what the world says you're not great because you're black or you're Latino. No, you can be great because of that. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring somebody in front of you, and you're going to see how great they are. And then because you can see that, that means you can be that. And that's what the mayor was saying when he said that cultural nationalism is what we've got to be focusing on, our culture. And that's why he was saying that, the things he was taught. And he says, when he looks at that, and he says the Super Simbas, or he says Kwanzaa, or he says what I've learned and what I'm looking at. These kids don't have that. And so if you have somebody who has a heart and says, okay, now I'm not going to use that against you, I'm going to use that for you and show you how it's a benefit to you.
I don't know if this helps in the thinking that you've just articulated for people who are listening. So I'll just put it out there. The citizens of Newark are not who have been deprived. The state has been deprived of the greatness that's in our city. And that when our people understand that we can make things better because of us, that makes it better for everybody else, whether they look like us or not.
That's big.
And then on a grander scale, so you have people who don't look like the majority of the students in the city of Newark, who live in other school districts all across the state and the country. It is when all of those people recognize that urban school systems are actually part of the answer.
Right.
So usually we work from a deficit model. We're deprived. We're poor.
That's right.
We're on welfare.
Right.
Well, guess what? You can be poor on welfare and become the superintendent of Newark School.
That's right.
That's what's happening right now.
There you go.
So ultimately, our students need to understand that it is because of them that we become better. We're not bad.
That's right.
We're not awful. We're not deprived because of them.
Right.
And ultimately, when we stop working from a deficit model that we're always behind, we will understand that we're actually quite ahead.
Right. And I think the other thing is that because we've never really actually expected greatness from them was a mistake. The fact that you are now expecting that from them now says, wait a minute, that's what the superintendent expects from me. In fact, I see this guy. I talk to him. You know what? And he says, because I remember the speech you gave when you told the students who were graduating from Science High School, and you told them, you said, you're going away, but here's what I want you to come back and remember, there's a job waiting for you.
That's right. Absolutely.
But be the best, do the best you can while you're away, because you know it product. But remember, when you come back, you got a job waiting.
Absolutely.
And you got other kids that are waiting to be taught by you.
Absolutely. I mean, we always are trying to understand us. And what we don't really understand is that the expectations that are not set for us,
Right.
unfortunately define who we are. Just the AP example that I just gave.
Right.
Real simple. Watch this. No one in Newark will take an advanced placement class. So you won't ever know if they can ever pass it.
Right.
But watch this.
Right.
We offered it,
Right.
and guess what? Some of them passed it.
Right.
And even if they don't pass it, we know that the rigor of that class will better prepare them for
Right.
the
Right.
course in college anyway.
Right.
So all that we did this year, and
Right.
it's not that I'm saying it's a simple thing that we did, but we increased the number of students taking the classes.
Right.
And guess what? More students passed.
Right.
Well, no one should be scared about that.
Right.
People should understand that they would have passed it years ago if they were afforded the
Right.
opportunity.
There you go.
And so where we are right now is saying, look, we're not scared of any test. I don't
Right.
care what you name it.
Right.
The harder the test,
Right.
well, guess what? We're going to demonstrate to everyone that we can pass that one
Right.
too.
Right.
Ultimately, in the end, one of the things I always say is that our students shouldn't be afraid of any test
Right.
because they passed the hardest test of all,
Right.
living in the city of Newark.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I heard the mayor just say, John, what he was saying about preparation. Remember he said that?
Right.
If you prepare these kids and you give them an AP course, but if you training them right, when they get to that AP course, they won't be afraid of it.
Look,
Right.
now you're ready to be an administrator. So you went from teacher.
Hey, I'm just repeating the man.
No, just
You know?
watch this. So if you can't do well in an AP class, and we don't prepare you
Right.
Mhm.
to then be admitted into that class, then it shouldn't be a shock that you won't ever do it.
That's right.
So same concept. We're gonna prepare you to do well in that class,
Yeah.
and then we prepare you, and then you actually take the class.
Right.
Right.
Oh my goodness! And then you then pass the test.
Right.
We just returned back a couple of weeks ago from Gallaudet University. And I had staff that went there because we
Oh,
have
wow.
Bruce Street School for the Deaf. And then we have deaf students and hard of hearing students at Technology High School.
And
So-
Gallaudet's a university for the deaf.
Well, Gallaudet University is a university for college students.
Fair.
It's not a university for the deaf.
Fair.
And interestingly enough, though, the majority of the students who are at Gallaudet University are deaf. They create a criteria that allows people who hear, if they would like to go there, to actually be admitted. Just put it in
Fair.
check real quickly.
Yeah.
But ultimately, one of the things that I did, one of the students who's a senior in at Technology High School, saw me signing that we were doing this trip and began to sign to me. My oldest sister's deaf.
I was going to say,
sign
because you know
language.
sign
Yeah,
language.
so I know sign language. And he was like, can he go? So we actually had 2 students from Technology High School go on the trip as well. Parents agreed to allow them to go. It was for 2 days. And they met the admissions director of Gallaudet University.
Hmm.
And so they were like, we're thinking about going to the school. They have the grades for it. They have the test scores for it. And so you have to, when you apply, you have to pay an admissions fee, an application fee.
Right.
She said she signed to them that because they were there, she was going to waive the application fee.
Nice.
So
Nice.
they're already meeting that criteria, right? Because you have to apply to get in.
Right.
If you don't apply, you
Yeah.
don't know if you're going to get in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we have a FAFSA challenge.
Yeah.
And that's a reminder to all the seniors in the city of Newark.
Yeah.
We need you to complete the financial aid form because ultimately that application will afford students the money to go to college.
Right.
Look, I didn't have money to go to college. We were on welfare until I was, past my high school, a high school age when I actually began in college. And the financial aid form is a vehicle
Right.
that tells someone, look, you may be poor,
Right.
but if you are doing right in that classroom,
Right.
your opportunities of going into a college, and in particular in our state, is you have to worry less about it. We have a lot of students taking out loans, and when they actually land a job or realizing how much money
Right.
they actually have to pay.
Right.
Our students in Newark need to complete their financial aid form.
Right.
They can obviously go to any of their school councils for assistance. They can obviously email me as Superintendent for Kids if there are any problems with regards to completing that financial aid form. And we will make sure that we provide services to assist them. And ultimately, by doing that, That then is the next step. You fill out the application, fill out the financial aid form, the application to admissions application, financial aid form. College is a vehicle towards allowing students to realize those dreams.
Yeah.
Right.
And ultimately, if the students are like, oh my goodness, I have to do an application to be admitted. Oh my goodness, I have to do multiple applications to different schools. Oh my goodness, that financial aid form, it can be discouraging.
Yeah.
And what we have are people in the schools to actually help them with that so that they're actually not discouraged.
Right. Hey,
Nice.
you keep using this word dream, right? And that is the one thing that most African American children have been robbed of, the ability to dream. Because when you talk to most of the kids in our community, they first off, they don't believe that they're going to live long enough to see the fruition of their dreams, right? So that's important, right? So a lot of what I'm hearing you say, Roger, is that is getting these kids to believe in themselves. And then if they can do that part, then what you're saying is that we'll do the rest of it. But you got to believe first. If you can do that, because that's sort of what the mayor was saying when he, one of the things he was saying about, remember the word he used, John, was dignity.
Right.
When he was saying that he went into this building and one door had feces on the building, and some of these people who called themselves the activists, he said was saying that he should have left them there until after Thanksgiving. And he was like, no, I put them in the Marriott on the guy who owned that building's dime, and I made him pay for it, right? But he said that these people deserve dignity, right? And so now once they left there, no matter what these people who was called the activists, because the mayor said, where did they get this definite article? Like they're the only activists. And they're not even activists. But it's about being able to believe that you can achieve. And I think that's what I'm hearing. And I think that is, and one of the things you keep saying, and I'm gonna tell you something, because I learned this in ministry training. Every time you tell people your story, right? Because Les Brown says this. When you go to Les Brown's training about how to be a public speaker, he said it is your story that will deliver people. When you tell people that you on welfare and they look at you now, those kids who are there now begin to look at you and say, I can dream now. I can be Roger.
Yeah, I use this analogy, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. A tsunami hits you. You don't usually survive one.
Right.
And so part of what we have to do is tsunami of love to our students, right? And so if it comes in the form of a wave, that it drowns them, and then the life preservers come out. It's the guidance counselor, it's the teacher, it's the principal who can lead them out, a light, a beacon of hope, so they can go, oh, I can get out of the water. That's what school is supposed to be.
Right.
And so I do hear people who talk about, the realities of, I've lived this life I have been deprived of. And I just always like to, and you heard me do it a couple of times here, flip it on its head.
Right.
It's not that the children in Newark are deprived.
Right.
It's that the children of Newark have deprived others of great
There
reality
you go.
in their lives.
I love the way you put that. Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, there may be a student
Yeah.
on a street corner in Newark who could really be a good pharmacist.
Right.
I need that student to take my chemistry classes in high school. We'll make sure that they actually become a pharmacist so that they can actually give drugs over the counter to people who are sick.
Right.
There is some student that has lost their way because we've just existed.
Right.
And so that student might be able to actually teach that other student that you were talking about who can't read.
Right.
And so I can actually have students become better students
Right.
with the students that I currently have.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So we have power.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we say we're deprived in that mindset, and I get it.
Right.
Part of what happens is we allow the system to fold us. And part of what our job is in schools is to let people see that that's all wrong. Part of the problem becomes when you have adults who have been folded.
Right.
Right.
Because just because we have teachers doesn't mean that they don't have pain.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
And ultimately, we teach. We have to educate everybody,
Right.
but ultimately never lose sight of what the child needs.
Right. Right. Hey, but before we run out of time, here's what we said to the mayor, right? Because what's happening now is, we're getting ready to go into a new decade, right?
That's right.
2020. And all of the preachers are saying this, right? I was in a meeting with a group of preachers recently. I said this to the mayor a few moments ago. They all are talking about 2020, the beginning of a new decade. But 2020, we know, is about having somebody who has 2020. We say that they have good vision.
That's right.
My question for you, Roger, is what is your vision for 2020?
Well, 2020 is this next decade. So we have 10 years to really make an impression upon our young people, that they are the answers to our woes, that they are resourceful in great ways, that the technology that our young children use today, which obviously far exceeds anything that we've learned in our lifetime when we were growing up, that they have a capacity. And my responsibility, as I've always articulated it, and what is clear to me, given the work that has to occur, is that every child that walks in all of our hallways in schools in Newark are geniuses, and that it is the responsibility of every adult who is interacting with them to prove that to other adults, whether they're at the school or in their community.
Wow. I wish I was a student again, man.
Well, let me tell you, I'm challenging my students, and I'm having a lot of fun seeing them learn and grow and ultimately begin to unravel this world that is so complicated and requires them to be great.
Well, listen, man, Roger, listen, we're out of time. I just want to say thank you, man. I appreciate, I can see how strong you are now coming back this time than when you were when you came here over the summer. You're stronger. You're much more confident now. And I see that. And so, I'm happy to call you my superintendent. We've had a couple of superintendents up here, particularly we went through some stuff that was going on, and it's almost
when
like
Cammie Anderson was.
It's almost like that title.
We
a couple of times, almost
about 2 or 3 times.
And I can see that I really didn't know what the hell a superintendent was, but I know one now, and I want to say, man, I'm, just like when the mayor leave, there's certain things that stick with me. Right, when people make an impression on you, and I think what you've laid on me is about this heart thing, having a heart for our children, sticking with me, right? Because I recognize that I used to be one of them kids, man, and what we needed was leadership like this, right? People who could walk through those buildings and see whatever my issue was, didn't think that my issue was too big in order to get the help that I needed. That no. In fact, it's just right. I'm the guy that can help you get that issue solved. I want to thank you, man. You got any final words you want to add?
On behalf of our board and all of the 55,000 plus students that are in Newark and all of their families, just a happy holidays to everyone. Time to, really focus and reflect. And I know that my staff, all 6,300 employees, are focusing on doing some of the same over the next couple of days and getting ready for the most incredible school year of their lives.
There you go.
And I was going to say, I can tell that, you were really vibing with Roger. That's why I sat back.
Oh, no.
Because you were asking, you were actually emotionally moved. I see. I've known him for almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's you're actually moved.
Hey, man.
In this. Listen,
I got a mayor and I got a superintendent now, right?
Pretty special.
Newark is my hometown, and if Roger came up here bullshitting, I would tell him.
You would.
But Roger, and I see the strength in him, man, and I'm impressed. And because and you know me, John. Tomorrow's my birthday, and I'm reflective.
Very much.
Right, and so because of that, when I see Roger, I just I got hope, and I believe in these kids. And I believe under his leadership, I believe that they can have the kind of success that they want to have and their families want to have. But if you got somebody that you can trust that won't play you out, and where we from, Raj, we get played out all the time. Right. People who take the job and say, "Oh, I really care about the kids, but it's really about the salary."
you know, it's interesting. At the start of my work, I met a 6th grader, and he and his classes at his school gave me a gift, and the gift was a word, carved out word, and it was about, I want to say, 4 feet long. Was the one word, and he said, "This is what you do." And whoa, I'm talking about just reflecting right now on it.
Yeah.
Believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what he wrote. And you kept saying that.
Yeah.
He's saying you believe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's the foundation of faith, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You can't believe that God is until you got faith. You got to believe first before that. You notice that the Bible says none of us have ever seen God. So how can you believe in something you've never had? You got to have faith. And I think that if you run into the right person that you can believe in, right, then you can achieve, because you can believe in the right person. And that's what I say about you, Roger. I've seen this, and if somebody could say, look at somebody's development, I look at your strength from when you came over the summer to where you are now, and I hear it in your voice, man. So, Roger, I'm watching you, man. I'm one of the brothers in the community who say, yo, man, that's my superintendent, like that's my mayor, right? And I'm not gonna cuss, but I want to. Don't y'all put your hand on it, because we got it. All right. Thank you for coming, Roger. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, right? Always an honor to have you, man. Like, and it's always good to be like, you know, you're my superintendent.
Yes, sir.
Like, it makes my heart feel good to be able to know that you are there, because knowing you from way back when, and you are the same person that you were back then. Smart, heart, love the city of Newark. That was you at 14. That is you now, right? Like, and an idealist who always will fight to do the right things, right? Because it's right.
Yeah.
For these kids.
That's integrity.
Right. Yeah.
Integrity is doing what's right because it's right.
Right.
That's integrity.
Right.
Well, I appreciate it, and look forward to the work ahead, and obviously an invitation back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an open door policy, my brother.
Yep.
You know, anytime you want to come hang out with us, you're more than welcome.
Yep.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Well, listen, folks, y'all know that if y'all just missed it, y'all missed the man, y'all missed our superintendent, Roger Leone. This is, of course, All Politics Are Local,
America's number one
political hip hop radio talk show. We get ready to go into DJ Rhino now.
The best DJ in the entire universe.
And
Little Shrek.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Yeah, doing big things in the building.
That's right.
And she's one of Roger's students.
Yes.
You know? So he had a student on.
Oh, she was and she was really blowing up the songs when you were on there.
Oh yeah.
She was it was perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is really good.
She had good music.
Right. So we're gonna bring you into DJ Rhino. DJ Rhino, I would ask if you're ready, but I know you are always ready. So DJ Rhino.